Good morning, St. John's. It is Monday, and that means it's time for our collective worship. Now, if you listen really carefully, you may just be able to hear some raindrops on my conservatory window. That's because it has started in the last half an hour or so to rain. And in fact, Mrs. Moore tells me that there is a storm that is moving towards Canterbury as I speak. Now I wonder how that would make you feel if there was a storm on the way. For me, I would be quite excited. I really like it when it's nighttime and I hear that low rumble of thunder. And I'm just waiting for that flash of light or that bolt of lightning coming down from the sky. I think that storms are rather beautiful. But other people might view them differently. In fact, there is one person I know who has 4 paws and a tail and likes to pop up in these videos at times. That's right, I'm talking about Monty. And he feels a little bit differently about storms. I was sitting with him last week and there was a storm starting in the distance. And I heard the low rumble as we were having a cuddle on the sofa. And immediately he sat up and looked around, wondering what was going on. For me, the storm was exciting, but for Monty, the storm was confusing. Now, in our story today, there are some people who viewed a storm a very different way. And that's because the people who we are talking about were out on a sea in a small boat, miles from the shore. They were rowing through the night to try to get to the other side of the sea, and all of a sudden they noticed the waves beginning to get a little bit choppy. They noticed the clouds were beginning to roll in overhead, and then one of them heard it. Boom! The roar of thunder. Flash! The bright flash of lightning. Now, for these men, the storm wasn't exciting. And the storm wasn't confusing. They knew exactly what it meant. For them, the storm meant power and danger. Immediately, the men all rushed to the oars to try to secure the boat. They tried to make sure the water wasn't getting in, but they knew that if the storm carried on, they would be in trouble. And then one of them noticed that one of their passengers wasn't helping at all. In fact, not only was he not helping, he was asleep. Now, I haven't told you yet who this passenger was, but I wonder if you can work it out. That's right. The person in the boat who was sleeping in this storm, in the middle of a sea, was Jesus. Now, I wonder why he wasn't scared like the men. I wonder why he wasn't rushing around like the men. Well, one of them decided to wake him up. And he said, Teacher, how can you sleep at a time like this? Can't you see the storm is getting bigger? The waves are rising higher. If this doesn't stop soon, we're going to die. Jesus' response was very interesting. He didn't say, Oh my goodness, you're right. How silly of me. I shouldn't have been sleeping. Instead, he said, Why do you not trust me? And he told the storm to calm, and the storm obeyed. sometimes in our day, in the classroom or at home, we can feel a bit like the men who were on that boat. That there's no hope, that there's nothing we can do, that all of our peace is gone. But this story shows us that even when there are big storms that we're facing, we can still find peace. That's one of our values, isn't it? One of our living values. All the men needed to do was to trust that there was a way through the storm. And that's our challenge for our week as well. We know that sometimes at St. John's or at home, things are not always as peaceful as we would like them to be. Well, the good news is, St. John's, we can all play a part in making our school a peaceful place to be. And I trust that we can do that together. If we are a peaceful school, then it will mean that we are all safe. It will mean that we are all able to feel happy. And I think Year 5 know what I'm going to say next. If we are safe and we are feeling happy, then we can all learn in a place full of peace. So through this week, I would like you to consider what you could do to help make this school peaceful. You could either do that now, or perhaps you could use your collective worship in class on Thursday to think about that question. Where in St. John's is it sometimes not peaceful? And what could I do to make a change? I'm going to say a prayer now, because in the Bible story that I told you, the disciples couldn't have fixed it by themselves. They needed to trust in God. So if you would like to join in this prayer, then at the end, you can respond by saying Amen. And that means that you agree with the words that I've said. So let's all put our hands together and close our eyes for our prayer. Dear God, we thank you that even when we are in the middle of a big storm, you can still calm it and bring us peace. I thank you as well that you've given us all the responsibility to make St. John's a peaceful, happy and safe place to be. I pray this week you would help us to play our part to bring peace to our wonderful school family. Amen. I hope, I trust that you will have a wonderful week here at St. John's. And I'm sure if I see you around the school, you will be able to tell me that that's exactly what is happening. Well, that's all from me today. Have a brilliant day and a brilliant week. Bye.